like to be mindful of everyone's time, so I would like to call our work session to order. Mr. Parker, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Daniels.
Here.
Ms. Davis.
Present.
Ms. Green.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Rawls. Mr. Rodriguez. Ms. Bowers.
Present. Please note Councilwoman Rawls is excused this evening. Councilman Rodriguez may join us virtually, I'm not sure. We have two orders of committee business this evening, the Administration Committee and then the Building and Housing Committee. We will begin with the work of the Administration Committee. We have two resolutions for discussion, Resolution 42 of 2024 and Resolution 43 of 2024. Mr. Parker, could you please read both into the record?
Resolution 42 of 2024. A resolution appointing Mr. Joel Siders to serve on the Coordinating Committee and the Technical Committee of the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study, otherwise known as HATS. Resolution 43 of 2024. A resolution appointing Mr. Todd Webb to serve on the Coordinating Committee and as alternate member to the Technical Committee of the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study, otherwise known as HATS.
Thank you. I believe Mr. Siders and Mr. Webb are both present this evening. If you wouldn't mind joining us to answer a few questions. Good evening. If you wouldn't mind taking a moment just to please introduce yourselves.
My name is Joel Siders. Recently accepted the position for a city engineer for Harrisburg. I have about 20 years of engineering experience, ranging from bridge design and inspection all the way up to anything transportation related, as well as some building facilities experience.
My name is Todd Webb. I'm the project engineer for the city within traffic and engineering. I've been with the city since March 25th. Before that, I was the public works director at Swatara Township, and I was at Middletown Borough for 18 years, holding various roles. So I don't look it, but I've been around for a while. So.
Well, thank you and welcome. Just for a few notes on the work of the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study. This resolution, or these resolutions both, are appointing Mr. Joel Siders and Mr. Todd Webb to serve on the Coordinating Committee and the Technical Committee of the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study. The Harrisburg Area Transportation Study was created in response to the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1962, which mandated regional transportation planning as a condition for receiving federal funds for transportation projects. The Harrisburg Area Transportation Study Agreement was entered into on February 11th, 1965 by and among the Department of Highways of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the County of Cumberland, the County of Dauphin, and the City of Harrisburg. Mayor Wanda R.D. Williams has appointed Mr. Siders, our city engineer, and Mr. Webb as a HATS Coordinating Committee and Technical Committee member for the City of Harrisburg. I was looking for a length of time, but I believe the role on the committee is until relieved of their duties. Is that correct? Or is there a term limit?
I will have to look it up again. I don't remember.
Okay, that's okay. I always like to clarify so everyone's aware. Just a question for both of you before I open the floor to my colleagues. I know you both mentioned a little bit about your expertise in various capacities that you've worked in. I'm just curious, what impact do you believe you will be able to make on the coordinating committee and the technical committee of the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study?
One thing I would like to be present on the committees for is to direct more federal funds through the city. Right now we have vacant seats, which means we have less votes in the committees, and I was trying to use my position there to kind of better serve Harrisburg.
Thank you.
Along the lines of what Mr. Sider said, finding better opportunities for the city of Harrisburg for safety improvements on the roads, whether it be pedestrian, bicycle, multimodal, anything like that. And it goes further than streets. It could be lighting, it could be traffic signals improvements, all things like that that help the residents of the city. So any way we can do to accomplish that, we're gonna do that.
Thank you. I'm going to open the floor to my colleagues who may have some additional questions for you. I'll begin with Councilman Jones. Any questions?
Thank you, President Bowers. No, I really don't have any questions. You pretty much asked along the lines of what I would have asked as well. But you guys do have pretty extensive resumes, so I think we should be in good hands. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Vice President Green, any questions?
That got to me fast. No, I don't have any questions for you guys. I'm used to a couple of people in between there. Thank you for your willingness to serve. I look forward to working with you, and welcome to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davis, any questions?
Thank you, President Bowers. No questions for me. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Daniels, any questions?
Yeah, just whether you could articulate any potential conflicts of interest that might or that may come up.
I can't think of any off the top of my head. I don't serve on any other committees or outside of, I don't have any other work outside of Harrisburg. So I don't see any potential conflict of interest.
I don't feel that I have any as well, but if something were to come up, then we would speak with, I'm sure, with Mr. Grover, our supervisors, and take care of that, so we don't have that issue.
And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I move to add Resolution 42 of 2024 and Resolution 43 of 2024 to our next legislative session agenda for a vote. This concludes the business of the Administration Committee. Thank you both for being present this evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We will now move to the business of the Building and Housing Committee. I will defer to our Building and Housing Committee Chair, Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you, President Bowers. Resolution 41, 2024, which is a resolution approving the 2024 Annual Action Plan for the City of Harrisburg for the Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnership, and Emergency Solutions Grants programs. Tonight we have the Building and Housing Committee under Director Gloria Martin-Roberts, Tamika Moore, and Mr. Jason Graves, Director of Development, here to continue with their presentation. You may begin whenever you're ready. No pressure. Okay.
That you may have. This mic, I'm sorry. At your last meeting, we provided you with a packet of information that detailed exactly what we're going to be doing for the next budget year. So we're pretty much here at your wish to answer any questions that you may have. The reason we provided the detailed packet is because we know that a lot of information is contained in this draft plan. So we have attempted to abbreviate as much as possible to help you get through this process.
And thank you for the detailed packet of information. It is very friendly and easy to read and understand, so I appreciate that. I will ask a couple of questions and then open it for my colleagues to ask any questions that they may have. And thank you again for being here tonight. When was the stakeholder workshop held, and how was the meeting, the time and date disseminated to the communities?
The date you're talking about is, we have that scheduled for, let me get the 23rd of July. And there will be 2 workshops on that date. And it will be open to any entities that desire to put in an application for funding. We will have our consultant, Civitas, who will be conducting the workshops. Anyone that's interested in applying for dollars must attend one of these workshops. One starts at 10 o'clock, and the second one is at 2 o'clock on the 23rd of July. We will be advertising that on our website. We will also be contacting those entities that have already received funding, that have applied traditionally for this type of funding in writing, so that they know we're having them.
Okay. Thank you very much for
You're
that
welcome.
clarification. I did see the application workshop here on your timeline. When I read the packet, the language was just a little different, so I thank
understand.
you for that.
You're welcome.
And how much of the, I'm not sure if this is an appropriate question at this time, but how much of the ESG funds remain as of, say, today for emergency funding, or is that not
I don't
available
have
at
that
the
information
time?
before me. Do you?
That information is subject to change because.
Excuse me, can you please speak into a microphone? That way everybody can
Forget
hear
about
you.
these
There are
mics.
people listening. Thank you.
We don't have definite numbers because we still have monies from 2022 grants, so whatever's left over from 2022, and then all of 2023 and 2024. So we don't have definite numbers as of right now. We were on a call today with Civitas, and we're going to get those calculations together.
And you said you were on a call with Civitas?
Civitas,
Yeah, they're the consultants to us from
Yes.
HUD, paid for by HUD.
Civitas. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. This is just a learning process for me, as well as I'm sure the public. And so when do you anticipate having those numbers?
We will
What
probably
time?
have those numbers probably in the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
We have a couple entities that we require documentation from. We can't issue any money to them until certain things are met, because they're state and federal requirements.
Thank you very much.
You're
I don't
welcome.
have any other questions. I'll open the floor for my colleagues, starting with Vice President Green.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. Thank you all for being here tonight. I have a couple of questions. Excuse me, I'm a little stuffy today. As far as the workshops, they're only being held on the 23rd of July,
Yes.
Correct.
and there are 2 sessions?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Just kind of in general, who all could apply, right? If they come to the workshop, is it open to just nonprofits, for-profits? You know, a lot of people always ask, well, how can I get money from the city? What grants are available? So if we could just kind of give an overview of who can apply and what all they need.
So it's the nonprofits in the Harrisburg city, as long as they're servicing 51% of the population. And ESG is for like shelters, rapid rehousing, things like that, homelessness, and that's also nonprofits as well.
Thank you. And when they go to apply, they should already have their 501c3. They should also already be a nonprofit. It's certain things they should already have in order, right? They can't just show up saying, well, I want to start a nonprofit today and apply.
No, they have to, it has to be in order, yes.
All right. And
may I just say that at the time of their application, if they have those things have to be in order.
okay.
Yes.
All right. And then lastly, are there any specific programs or areas that the city might be targeting as far as funding? Like, are we targeting more, providing more homeless shelters or more assistance to the unhoused? Or are we targeting organizations working with the youth more, gun violence prevention, anything like that? Is there anything specific that the city might be focusing more on with the funding this year?
You want me to answer that?
It's okay.
You can have a turn.
Okay, thank you. So with the ESG funds, that's particularly what it's for, is determining what they're actually going to use those funds for. So it has a guideline, and a lot of those, what you mentioned, actually fall into those guidelines. So as of right now, I can just throw this out there now. So if everybody got a chance to look at the draft plan, so the draft plan is going to be edited at time being, so there are going to probably be some changes pertaining to certain things that you may be mentioning.
All right, thank you. That's all that I have.
Thank you. President Bowers, any questions?
Thank you. I guess my question is for Ms. Moore. It's related to the subrecipients. I know at one time, and maybe at the beginning of this administration, there was an intentional push to reach new nonprofits that traditionally maybe hadn't applied, maybe they were just getting started, I guess. Is that still the case as we move forward with funding opportunities, or are you looking for those nonprofits that have applied previously? I know Ms. Martin Roberts mentioned that you'd be reaching out to them for the workshop.
So we're going to reach out to the ones that have applied before, but it's open to any of the nonprofits. So it's not solely like we're picking which ones. It's open to all of them.
So with that, if council members know of entities that are interested in applying and may never have applied before, we're open to receiving that information. And anyone listening or viewing this tape, if you know entities that are interested in applying, to please, contact our office, because we are looking for as many social service, human service providers, people helping people possible to make our city better. And the more the merrier, because we never seem to have enough services to take care of the needs that we have in the city.
Thank you. My second question is related to the workshop. So it's just one day and those 2 sessions and 2 time frames. Are there any opportunities? I know it's mandatory that you attend at least one, but are there any other opportunities for people to receive the information if those times don't work for their schedule?
Well, we will have it live or recorded. The last workshop that we had, it was placed on our website so people can go back and look at it. But that is a requirement that they have to attend at least one of those sessions and get a certificate.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a HUD requirement. It's not our requirement.
And I get where you're coming from on that question. There may be an opportunity going forward for another session, just for the simple fact because we picked that time frame because it was easier because it's a Zoom versus them coming up here as previous times before. Because of the time constraints. So it may be, I asked that question also, so it may be an opportunity for us to have another session, because what we were going to do previously before, the days were staggered, so weren't back to back, so you had space out.
Right,
so
that's what I remember.
Yeah, so it's a possibility we may be able to. I'm not going to say guarantee and say yes, but it's just on the time constraint because it's summertime and they're actually doing a lot of traveling this year as well too. So it's like I said, it's a possibility that we could probably hold another one. Since it actually is taped, we maybe have to hold a session because it's already live taped. So that could be also because there has to be a certification, a certificate that's actually along with that certification as far as like with the workshop So it's maybe a possibility, again, a possibility, maybe we can actually hold another session with the tape session where people actually have to show up for that tape session. So
to receive the certificate. Well, I hope someone continues to advocate for that, just to ensure that if 10 to 11:30 or 2 to 3:30 doesn't work for people's schedules on one day, that there is another opportunity. So.
Well, President Bowers, I will be meeting with Civitas, and again, in the next few days, I'll ask the question and tell them it's our desire if we could have a third or second round, and I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Jones?
Yes, let's see. No, seriously, I would just like to know, as far as the ESG, when you're working with the unhoused, so you can share with the public how some of those services are rendered in some of the partnerships, like the Shalom House and YMCA, how did, so they can understand how it works. A lot of the people in the community have grievances about monies not being shared with the unhoused and the homeless population, and thinking that the city is to bear the total brunt of that. So can you kind of share with the public how some of that is working?
Matter of fact, I have a list here.
you have a list? Okay.
We are funding several entities that work with the, I say homeless because I don't care how cute the word is, whether they use unhoused or not, they're homeless. So I'm using homeless, okay? But we do support several entities in the city that provide services and outreach to the homeless population. And as a matter of fact, I was just in a meeting last week with the mayor and the county and several other entities that provide homeless services to the homeless population. And we're looking at increasing funding to them so that they can serve more the homeless. One of the big issues that has come out is that a lot of seniors are losing their homes. And these were people that paid their mortgage, but because of the cost of living and the fact that many of them don't get much in Social Security, some of them, they had a spouse, the spouse is deceased, so they don't have the income and so forth. So it's not that they want to be homeless, they just can't afford to maintain their homes. And so we do have some churches and other service agencies that are interested in helping seniors find housing, but also we have seniors whose homes are in disarray, that they can't afford the upkeep of them, but also to be able to provide funding to get their homes rehab, not only to make it livable and they can age in place, but also it keeps that property on tax roll.
Right. So let me try to specify the question a little more. What is the city's role? We understand through the partnerships. What is the city role? Is there anything other than the financial support that the city does or dedicates to this specific area?
So the ESG funds provide funding to engage homeless individuals and families living on the street, improve the number and quality of emergency shelters for homeless individuals and families, help operate these shelters, provide essential services to shelter residents, rapidly rehouse homeless individuals and families, and prevent families and individuals from becoming homeless.
Okay, now.
But that's not direct services.
Right.
From what your question seemed to me, you were asking, we're providing the city's not providing any type of direct services, the funding support.
All right.
To those that provide those direct services.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't, because a lot of people don't understand, and I get where you're coming from. We don't, as the city of Harrisburg, we don't have social services. That is a higher up entity as far as like with county or state. So there needs to be a collaboration between all three entities for that to work. We, just like Ms. Gloria Roberts said, we are actually working on, with the county and also with the state, of actually trying to get some collaboration going with that. Because again, it's like you said, we are the brunt of it because we are the lead because we're in the city. But it's a bigger thing than just the city because we don't provide those actual services ourselves because we don't have social service provided from the actual city, from a city entity.
Right. So the data that we have through the packets that were given is collected from those entities that, correct? So if they said they wanted to impact, let me see, they had a goal of 1 year for 500 persons assisted and homeless, and then 15 persons were assisted throughout that 1 year goal. Those aren't the city numbers. These are the numbers that are coming in from those entities. Okay.
Now, they project, of course, when they submit their application, they all project what level of service they're going to be able to provide. I'm sorry, President Bowers. So they project, you know, how many they'll be able to serve. And then at the end of the reporting, then we really get the real data on the number of persons or families that they've been able to serve.
Okay. And my other question would be with the CDBG. I know that there are a lot of other organizations that are not nonprofits. Is any funding accessible to LLCs that may be also providing services to 51% of the population?
I don't know. I think it is this nonprofit. Maybe Neil can elaborate a little bit more on that.
I can get you that answer. I mean, it's tied to a regulation, and I wouldn't know that regulation off the top of my head.
Yeah, because some of the services, like let's say, like transportation, for instance, like there are some organizations out there that are looking to provide transportation to some work release or people coming out of Dauphin County Prison that need transportation to get around, but then there's really no funding to help them establish the maintaining the vehicles and things of that nature to serve these people. So
yeah, I because this is federal HUD money as opposed to some other federal monies.
Right.
I don't know that there's any room for profit.
Right.
Right. So that's the problem with an LLC. It's a for-profit
It's
entity,
okay.
And to be paid, you have to be paid both the cost of the service and there's a profit motive. I can get you a definitive answer, but some other federal agencies, like Department of Defense,
right,
they're built in profit into contractors. But I just don't know if HUD ever does that.
Yeah, and I'm just again asking for people that have these questions, and I just want you to be able to have an answer for the public so they can understand. And they're not just being told no, and here's the reason why, the rules and regulations. So that's the line of questioning.
And I've seen this. Some nonprofits form a for-profit arm. Some for-profit,
like a 50C4.
Yeah, or some for-profits form a nonprofit affiliation. So I mean, it's not unheard of.
Right.
But it's them figuring out, which they need to get their own legal advice, what the pathway is
to get it.
So, but it's certainly models that are out there.
Okay, that's it. No further questions. No, I got two more. No, okay, that's it. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And I will refer back to, thank you. Councilwoman Daniels, any questions?
Yes, so just to be clear, the July workshop is ESG and CDBG, and they're both on the same date?
Yes, they are always on the same.
Sorry,
Yep.
so I just keep, okay, I think you guys do need to have more workshops. That's really not accessible at all, especially with the short notice that they've had. So I think you guys need to do your best to get another workshop in there.
We'll do that.
The other thing is, where are we in terms of the distributions of the ESG funds for 2022, as well as the CDBG funds for 2022?
Well, we've just received, the end of last week, the contracts, the documentation that we also needed for those programs that had a conflict of interest. We had a meeting today with our HUD consultant to talk about how, what requirements that they have in terms of us communicating with the successful applicants and also the ones that had a conflict of interest. That information will be going out probably in the next 3 weeks, letters to all of them. For those that may be kind of in the middle, we're going to be meeting with them directly. They have not been denied based on a conflict, but they may be deficient in the information that they submitted. We will be meeting with them personally over the next 2-3 weeks to make sure we can get clarification so we can move their contract forward.
Okay, so so give me the number again. How many of the ESG contracts have been signed and funds dispersed, and how many of the CDBG contracts have been signed and funds dispersed?
No.
None from 2022.
None.
Okay. And then, do you have a sense right now of how many of the ones the 2022 money will be denied?
There will be 5 approved awards which cannot move forward. There is, I cannot remember, the total number was, let's see, 18, 15 were approved, 6 more, 21. 21 between the two were approved. I'm just doing the math in my head. 5 of them will not be able to move forward. A group of, it's like 8 of them are, 9 of them can move forward. The balance are deficient in terms of information, which DBHD's team is trying to gather. There are simply regulatory requirements that the record information has to be in the file, and there were just gaps. So there's follow-up going on.
So in terms of the ones that can move forward, that's about $70,000 that will be moving forward into the 2023.
Whatever money doesn't move forward rolls into program money for 2023.
Okay, and that's going to 70-something thousand.
I could not hear you.
And that's going to be about 70-something thousand.
I don't know the math. I do not know the math.
Okay. Okay, if you could let me know what that number is. And then
I suspect it's closer to 110.
Staff,
but just
I think it would be great for council to have like a little training on understanding like the rules of both CDBG and ESG, because it's been a while since we've had like a really refresh. So it would be nice to have one as well. And that's it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Daniels. And is Councilman Rodriguez on? Okay. Okay, so I can refer back to, if no one else has any questions, to President Bowers to open the floor, I guess.
No, what is your pleasure with Resolution 41 of 2024? Okay. But it can't move because we're in an active comment period, right. Public comment period.
Right. The council does need to select a date for its meeting in the end of July or early August after the 30-day comment period closes, which I think is July the 26th.
Yes.
And then it's up to the council when they want to meet. I would say don't make it August 8th. That's probably too late.
No, that's too late. The deadline's August 16th.
Yes. We've done it on the 8th before.
I know, and I would prefer not to. We'll have a date next week.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight and for answering our questions.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you. We will now move forward with our meeting agenda. Next, we have public comment. Just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. Please state your name and your address for the meeting record. If you don't feel comfortable sharing your address, please share the vicinity with which you live within the city. You'll have 4 minutes to share your comments. Mr. Parker will serve as our timekeeper. I'll begin to my right. Is there anyone that would like to offer public comment? Okay. Seeing and hearing no one. Anyone in the middle section? Okay, please come to this microphone.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Brown. I am currently homeless, and so that's why I'm here tonight at this meeting. I've come, I went to the mayor's office, I went to Human Services today. I just really been putting in the footwork as far as just trying to get some help. Because the reason that I am homeless is I was recently kicked out of the Bethesda Women's Mission, and I was taken out of there in handcuffs because I refused to move upstairs to the recovery floor. I was in the shelter for 4 months, and I was on the second floor. I was in the short-term program. Now, when I went into the shelter, they made sure to let us know, let me know for no circumstances, for no reason, should I go to the third floor, because that was their recovery floor. The counselor assigned to me, she had a habit of trying to bully me into doing things that, weren't a part of the program. And so this particular time, which was the third time, she asked me about moving upstairs, and I told her I wasn't comfortable with that. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to take up a bed that could, possibly go to someone who really needs that program, being that I'm not a recovering addict or alcoholic. And she told me to think about it and let her know in the morning, and I did that. I told her my decision was no, I didn't want to go up there. And she told me they needed to fill beds. And that, to me, is a problem also. I mean, because you need to fill beds, why don't you pull people off the wait list? Long story short, she told me she don't think I have a choice after I gave her my choice, and after she told me to think about it, pray about it, and get back to her and let her know. She tried to pressure me once again that same day, Thursday morning. This was 2 Fridays ago that this took place. And so I told her, I stood on my answer because, I really didn't feel comfortable with moving upstairs to a recovery program. And I have no need for that program. So basically, I felt as if she was trying to cover her tracks or cover up. I think she put me down when I came into the shelter as if I was in the recovery program and needed to cover her tracks. So Friday morning, she asked me my decision again, and I stood on my decision, and I told her, I gave you my decision already. And she said, well, then when are you leaving the shelter? Because she told me Thursday, after I gave her my decision, that, the only alternative was that I leave the shelter. Long story short, I told her I'll be leaving whenever she calls the cops. Honestly, I thought she was bluffing about the whole thing. I didn't think that she would, follow through with calling the cops, and she did. And the officer tried to encourage me to go upstairs to the third floor, and I refused to go to the third floor because I refused to be bullied. So that's why I'm homeless again, and I just need help. And I just think there's a lot of corruption within the shelters. I was hoping that this group would have been here to answer questions as far as who would be monitoring the shelters, the programs that are receiving the funds, because there's a lot of misappropriation of funding. And it's just, the corruption has to stop and it has to be exposed. And that's the bottom line.
Thank you. If you don't mind staying after the meeting to speak with our Building and Housing Committee Chair. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the middle section or to my left that would like to offer public comment? Seeing and hearing no one, the time is 6:10 p.m. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We stand adjourned.